So welcome everybody. My name is Amy Barfield. I am on the Education and Outreach team at the Globe Implementation Office in Boulder, Colorado. I'll be talking about judging for the International Virtual Science Symposium, or the IVSS. So thank you all for, hopefully you're all here because you've already volunteered to be an IVSS judge. Everything I'm going to talk about today can be found on our website at globe.gov/science-symposium. All right, so let's begin. So what is the IVSS? The IVSS is a way for students from kindergarten through undergraduate to showcase their research and hard work and to work with STEM professionals either through the judging process or through mentoring. And then judges give them valuable feedback that's going to help them become better scientists. Essentially, it's a science fair that's completely virtual and it's international, which is very exciting. So every student who's participating will submit a project, and that contains two parts. So the first is a written research report, and the second is some sort of presentation. And so the presentation is often a poster or a PowerPoint presentation or some sort of YouTube video or some video with apps and prezzies. So a variety of different types of presentations, the report. And those two elements are scored as part of and they will receive a student badge. This. So this is, of course, last year's. It says, I'm a student researcher, and they'll be scored from 0 to 4 stars. And then the student additional badges that'll help them explore science skills. So I'll talk a bit about that a little bit later. Now, I'm moving on to judges. So the judges are you guys. So thank you for joining me today. We rely on our volunteer judges to help. The judges can be scientists, teachers, we get Globe alumni, graduate students, and other types of community members from all over the world who volunteer their time to help score these projects and provide feedback to the students. And so we hope that we can get at least 3 judges to score each project. And this year we've been so lucky, thanks to you guys. We've been able to get 4 judges, so that's really great. And so we hope to have at least 3 to 4 judges feedback per project. I'm gonna have this slide again up at the end, but just let me know. You can reach me at any time at globeivss@ucar.edu if you have any issues with finding projects, if you are unable to score projects, if you have any conflict of interest with the projects, let me know. We can rearrange judges as needed over the next week. And if you just have any other kind of questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out at globeivss@ucar.edu. So judging essentially comes down to 4 steps. And so I'm going to go through each of these now. So the first step is looking at your assigned projects. And so judges are assigned specific projects. And we do this because we want to avoid bias. The feedback is anonymous, but we also just want to make sure that we're avoiding bias from any judges, and so that the students really get a true judging experience. And so we assign projects, and we consider a number of things when doing this. So first, we try to avoid, assigning a judge who might have had anything to do with that project. So if you were maybe a mentor to a student, or if you're a teacher, we don't want to give you a project that you were involved in. So we don't want you to I see a question. I'm gonna move this over here. Oh, where do you go to see assigned projects? I will get to that in just a second here. So you'll be assigned projects, and you'll receive an email right after, or today or tomorrow, with the information. And so the other thing I just wanted to mention is that you the projects, we want to give variety. So we want the students to be given feedback from a variety of people from around the world. And likewise, as judges, we want you to be given projects that are from a variety of different students. So you get some variety as well. So that's why we assign your projects. So after this webinar airs today, so later today and tomorrow, you'll be getting an email with a judge sheet. And so the judge sheet looks like this. It's a Google spreadsheet. And this is, of course, zoomed in a little bit. And this is yours to use. So it's going to list the projects that you've been assigned here. And it's going to have all the information that you need to help score the projects. And this is yours. So once it's in your possession, it's yours to use. So if you want to take notes on it, go ahead. If you want to highlight things or change the text, anything that you want to help you along the process, it's up to you. So you're welcome to use this judge sheet however you'd like. I'm going to just point out a couple of things real quick. So first of all, oops, sorry about that. This is the information you're going to need when you're filling out the scoring form. So this is the article ID and the title. And when you're scoring these projects, we want to make sure that you're you're copying and pasting the information from these two boxes. The other thing I want to point out here is the badges. So students can earn additional badges, and I'll go through that a little bit later. But students have requested to earn specific badges based on what they've done while working on the report. And so when you're selecting whether or not they've earned those badges, please check back to your judge sheet to see which ones they've selected. And so if they are trying to earn a specific badge, for example, these students here wanted to earn the I am a collaborator badge, you'll see it says true. All right, so next I'm going to tell you about how to find student projects. And so there's a couple of different ways to find projects. So the first one is through your judge sheet. So you might have noticed here, there's a couple of links up at the top. And so the first link here, this is to our project database. And so I'm also going to go over on the next slide here is how to find the project database. But you can find all the projects through here. You can also find the projects using this friendly URL. So most of the projects, I think actually now all of the projects have this URL, and that'll take you directly to the project. So you might be able to just bypass the database completely, but maybe you want to still use the database anyway. A couple other links I just want to point out are the rubrics, and I'll go over the rubrics later in this presentation. But we do have rubrics for each different grade band of students. And then finally, we also wanted, this is the link here to the feedback submission form. So this is actually where you'll be submitting the scores and the feedback for those students. So if you want to go the old-fashioned way and use our Globe student database to find the reports, there's two ways. So you go to our webpage, www.globe.gov. You go over, you can hover along here to do Globe. You click on that and go down. You can either select student research reports, or you go down to research and resources and over to student research reports. And that'll take you to our project database. And so it's going to look like what the background of this slide is here. So once you're here, you can see this button that says filter by. If you select that filter by button, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And so this is how we filter projects using the project database. So this is where you can put information to help filter the options. So you can use the article ID, you can use the report title, making sure you're copying and pasting these things exactly. You might want to just filter it to the correct year. And then of course you want to make sure you're selecting IVSS projects, and then you'll select apply filter, and it'll bring you the project that you're looking for. And so that's going to look something like this. So it'll, and this is also if you use the friendly URL from your judge sheet, this is what it's going to take you to, something that looks like this. So I want to point out a couple of things. So this has all the information that you need about the report. This here is an abstract. Here's some information about the report, who's submitting it, the teacher, the students, which protocols they've used. A couple of really important buttons here. First of all, to actually look at the report, you'll select this button here, the View Research Report. And then to look at the presentation, you'll want to look at this. You'll select this, and it says Presentation Poster. But the presentation, like I mentioned earlier, it could be a PowerPoint, could be a poster, could be a Prezi, a story map, a video, some sort of fancy PDF, any of these things. If it's a video, the URL will also be provided on your judge sheet, but you should be able to link it and access it from this page as well. And when you're scoring, just make sure you're looking at both the presentation and the research report, because not all of the information will be in just one. So it might require you to look at both of those documents or both of those things to find all the information you need to really accurately score. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about the rubrics. So we do have rubrics based on different students' ages. And so when you're scoring, we want you to make sure that you're assessing correctly based on these students' age and school level. So to find the rubrics, there's a couple of different ways for all of you to do that. So you can go to our webpage at globe.gov/science-symposium. And if you go over here to the menu bar, you'll find rubrics here, and you'll see that we've got rubrics by different grade bands. The rubrics are also going to be linked. You can find the link to this page on your judge sheet. As well, the link to this page will also be on the scoring form. So I know we all have different grade levels across the world, and so my 9th grade might be different than your 9th grade. And so just a little hint here, these are the different ages that we group our students by. And so, of course, we are going to score people differently by different ages. So a 5-year-old is going to be scored differently than an 18-year-old. And so if you click on, say, our kindergarten through 2nd grade, it's going to look something like this. You're going to have first our rubric box. And this is going to give you an idea of what we're looking for and how to score. So we've got a rating from 1 to 4 stars, 4 stars being a really exceptional project, 1 star being insufficient, and then sort of what we're looking for. How do we define what exceptional is for that age range? The other thing I want you to notice is this, the project elements. So everybody who submits a project goes through a process we call triage. And this is where GIO staff, including myself, we look to just make sure that they've got these 5 essential elements. And so the first is a title. The second is some sort of summary or introduction. The third is a research question. And these are research questions that have to be answered using data. The next is research methods. And this, of course, is going to be including GLOBE protocols. This is a GLOBE event. And then the final element we're looking for is some sort of conclusion, some sort of ending. And so you can see for our youngest students, we also hope that they're including some sort of results section. But if we jump up to the next grade band, so now our 3rd through 5th graders, or our students aged 8 through 11, you can see now we're looking for a little bit more complexity. So we still have those 5 elements that we're asking students to include in their projects and that we've already pre-checked before sending it out to our judges. But now you can see we have a couple of different additional sections. So now we want, more in-depth introduction, and also those results, and maybe a bibliography. And the complexity and what we ask to be included is going to increase for each higher and higher grade band. And our descriptions of what is exceptional versus good versus needs improvement, is going to be slightly different for each of these grade bands as well. So make sure when you're scoring those projects, you're scoring it using the correct rubric based on the student's age and grade level. All right, so finally, this is where all of this is coming together. So this is when we actually score the projects and give feedback. I call this the feedback submission form, also the scoring form or the judging form. And the responses to this form are going to be anonymous. So all of the things that you write in this thing, in this Google form, are going to be copied and pasted into an email to the student or to the teacher, I'm sorry. And then hopefully the teacher shares it with the students so that the students don't actually know who the feedback is coming from unless you decide to sign your name. Oh, I see a good question in the chat. I will be sharing this PowerPoint presentation and as well as the video recording. It'll be available on the website after this. I'm going to also include it in an email to our judges. So thank you for that question. All right, so now I'm just going to go through the feedback submission form. So it looks something like this. It looks like a Google form. A couple things to point out. As I mentioned, rubrics can be found here, linked here. There are 3 sections that now I'm going to go through and talk about. The Google form, like I said, it will be sent to you via email. It's also linked in your judge sheet. Each project, you'll fill this form out completely for each project. So if you're scoring 3 projects, you'll fill this form out 3 times and so on. So I'm just going to walk it through. I know this is going to be kind of small for you to read. And so I'm not really trying to get you to read it here. I just wanted to point out, if you were looking at this thing and you kept scrolling down, you'll see it asks a few things. We ask for your email and your name as a judge. Like I said, that's just for our information. The feedback will be anonymous for the students. And then make sure you're copying and pasting the title of the project and the article ID verbatim. So we want to make sure we're getting that exactly in those 2 sections here. And you can copy and paste that using the information provided in the judge sheet. And then this is going to be a smart form. So if you select a different, depending on which grade of the student, it'll bring you to different things. So say you select, if it's a student project from a 6th through 8th grader, you'll select this button here and it'll bring you here. And a couple things just to know. I know this is small, but you'll have access to this by the end of today. Of course, we've got, once again, a link to the rubrics here. Here's written out what's in those rubrics. We've got, what's expected for a 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, or 1-star project. And then we've got some tips for writing student feedback here. So then you'll give the number of stars and feedback. So how do we score? So a 1-star project is one that we consider insufficient. So maybe this report is missing some significant information. Maybe it doesn't have all those 5 required elements. A 2-star project is a step up, but still needs improvement. Maybe the report's incomplete. You need some additional clarification. The 3-star project is really kind of what we're hoping students aim for. So that's going to be a good project. It has all of our required elements. It's written clearly, but maybe it's missing something that just makes it really exceptional. And that 4-star project is for those projects that you read and they're just like, wow, this is really well done. It goes above and beyond expectations. The project is clear and concise. And so that's what a 4-star project looks for. And when you're assigning how many stars that you think the student has earned, make sure you're including your assessment. You're assessing both the written report as well as the presentation for this. I'm just going to take a second here to answer a question in the chat. I see As a first-time judge, I'm a little worried about being more or less critical than expected, especially if I get a project that I think is poor. Are there any real examples of past filled out judging forms, and or can we contact you for advice about judging particular projects? Absolutely. So thank you for that question. I'm actually going to give some advice about providing feedback in a minute here. So that is a good question. And it leads me to my next thing, which is really, I think the most important part of the IVSS and really the best part of the IVSS is when judges have an opportunity to provide feedback to the students. So this is sort of a free form text answer. And this is really an opportunity for you as a judge to help these students become a better scientist and to help them improve research in the future. And so a couple of suggestions for when you're providing this feedback. So the couple things to consider, first of all, is that these are students. So these aren't professionals. So when we're providing feedback, just making sure we're thinking about age appropriate responses and age appropriate assessment of the project. So making sure that we're being fair based on their age level. And also when we're using language, we're thinking that we're talking to a student and not to an adult or to a professional. Another thing to be aware of is that a lot of these students are submitting projects in a language that is not their native language. And so for that reason, we really want you to focus more on the content of the project rather than some particulars like grammar or vocabulary, because a lot of these might be translated into English and things aren't always translated as easily and some things get lost. So making sure you're not really focusing sort of on that nitty gritty grammar, you're really focusing on the bigger picture. You know, what are the students saying? Have they done good research? Also, you want to make sure you're checking for the presentation as well. You're making sure you're checking both the research report and the visual presentation that they've provided. And then another thing to keep in mind is that these projects come from all over the world. So this is important to think about. Not only are the students going to be submitting projects in languages that might not be their native language, you might be speaking to somebody in a language that isn't their native language and vice versa. And so if you're providing feedback that's going to have a lot of, you know, complex words or slang, just think about that. That might not be translated as easily to the student. So making sure that what you're writing to the student takes into account the fact that they might be from a different country and speak a different language than you. And so these are sort of some higher level things to think about. But I've also compiled some tips specifically about helping you think about what type of feedback to give. So this is sort of to address that question that came up in the chat earlier. So thanks to some tips for you all. Be positive. Once again, these are students. We're not trying to break any spirits here. And when we're thinking about what we're saying, if we're providing feedback, we want to make sure it's constructive. So we want to make sure that the feedback that we're giving is going to help the student grow. It's not just going to, you know, pointing out just things for the sake of pointing out things that are wrong. And, you know, sometimes pointing out things that go well, but highlighting those strengths can be just as important as pointing out things that maybe could be worked on. So I think highlighting strengths is a great way to help focus your attention and give the students something to think about. As well, we've done some analyses in the past about certain areas that students can work on and improve on. And so we've given these to you. So there's different areas. If you need help thinking about what to say to these students, here are some ideas. And you don't have to take these ideas, but these are just for you if you'd like. So certain areas that you can focus on with your comments. And so that includes project structure and complexity. So do the students have a clear strategy? Do they demonstrate a deeper understanding of the content and the context? Another area you can focus on is their data. Is there enough data? Is the data understood? Did they do any analysis or visualization? You can also think about the broader impacts. Did they think about the broader impacts? Did they think about the ecological impacts, or maybe how their research might affect their communities? And then you can also make comments about resources used. Did they use the correct tools or methods? Did they use Globe resources like the data visualization system or the Globe Observer app? And so these areas of focus and some more ideas about things to focus on when providing that feedback can be found in this document. So this is a document written a few years ago based on this assessment of student projects that really, I think, can help you as a judge think about what you're saying to these students, provide really good feedback. And so it has everything I've mentioned in the past 2 slides, as well as just some more ideas, some more questions you can think about asking those students. And so I've provided a shortened link to this document here. You can also find it linked in this feedback submission form, as well as if you go to the IVSS website and go to the resources tab or resources page, you'll find this tips for providing student feedback there. So you can find this a number of different ways. If you're having a hard time coming up with something to say to those students and want to improve your feedback as a judge, please go ahead and look at this document, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. All right, seeing a couple of questions in the chat. I'm just going to take a second to answer these. The first one is, should I look for projects or you select them and send them to me? Great question. Thank you for that. And the answer is that I will be sending projects that you've been assigned to score to you either later today or tomorrow. You'll be getting an email with a judge form that's going to have all the projects that have been assigned to you to score. All right, so thank you for that question. All right, the final section of the judging form. So you've given a star score, and so that's going to be, your rating about 1 to 4 stars, what you think the students have earned. Then you provided your feedback and your great critical feedback that's going to help those students grow. And then the final section is this optional badges. So these are additional badges that students can earn that if they've explored certain STEM skills while working on their project. And so I mentioned this earlier when I went through the judge sheet. You can see whether or not a student has requested to earn certain badges on the judge form. And so if they've selected that they're trying to earn the I am a collaborator badge, you can decide whether or not they've earned or not earned that badge based on, what you think of their report. Oftentimes students will have a section specifically dedicated to saying how they've earned the badge. Not all students will include that, so please keep that in mind. This is up for you to decide whether or not you think the student has earned it. You can also provide feedback. So there's also a chance for you to provide written feedback about the badges as well. So these additional badges that students can learn, like I said, they explore different STEM STEM skills. So there's 6 different badges. Students can earn up to 3. So make sure as a judge, you're not assigning them more than 3 badges. So they can be, the badges that they can earn are, I am a collaborator. So this is for students who've collaborated on their project, either with other students or maybe with STEM professionals. There's the I make an impact badge, and these are for students who have explored how the research impacts their communities. The I am a STEM professional badge, and this is for students who've either worked with STEM professionals or have explored STEM careers as a part of their research project. There's the I am an engineer badge for students who have used engineering skills in their research. The I am a data scientist badge is for students who've done sort of some more complex data analysis in their research. And the I am a STEM storyteller badge is for students who've come up with a really creative way to share their research. So beyond just the written report, if you think they've done a really good job of coming up with a creative way to share their research. One thing I want to point out is this year's theme for the IVSS was the engineering badge. I'm an engineer. We asked students to think about engineering for climate change. So you might see that students have selected this badge in hopes to earn it, but it's not a requirement. The theme is just for fun, but it is not a requirement. So not everybody needs to have earned this badge in order to participate this year. And then, like I said, after you've given your score, your feedback, and selected whether or not they've earned those additional badges and provided feedback to that as well, you've completed judging. And so you'll submit this, do this whole process for each project. If you're scoring multiple projects in one sitting, you can submit another response and they'll take you through the form again. So make sure you're filling this form out completely for each project that you score. I see a question in the chat. Do the students have access to these tips too, so that they know what is expected from the judge perspective? So this is about the tips for student feedback that was asked, or that I covered a couple slides ago, and students can view that. Yes, that is on the IVSS webpage under the resources tab, which is where students can ask, or students can access a bunch of different resources. The resources are also available to teachers as well as judges. So anybody can read any of the resources provided on that page. I see another question. How many projects are you assigned? So each judge, when you volunteered to judge, we asked you to tell us how many judges you are able to score. And so we try to really respect that limit. And so we've stuck to however many projects you volunteered for is how many you'll be assigned. So thank you for that question. Hopefully we've respected your wishes. And so when you finish judging, we do thank you. I mean, this is a really, we're really grateful to you for volunteering your time to help these students and to help us with this. And so as a thank you, all of our judges will also receive virtual badges, and you'll receive a certificate as well. So we do ask in order to receive this badge and the certificate that you score at least 3 projects by the due date. But of course, if you've been assigned more than 3 projects, please finish scoring all of those projects by the due date as well. I see a question in the chat. I don't really know the level of work to expect. After I've read 3 or 4, I will have a better idea. Can I go back and change my scores or comments? So the answer to that is yes. You can edit your responses. This is also maybe an opportunity for you. You can use the judge sheet if you want to write comments in there as well. Like I said, that judge sheet is for you to use however you'd like. So you're welcome to go back and add comments in that judge sheet, but you can edit your responses as well. And I think you'll be receiving an email for each response to the judge form. And then I see a question, what if I only signed up for 2 projects, I don't get this badge? Unfortunately, that's true. We do ask that you score at least 3 projects in order to receive this badge. All right, so once again, here's the opportunity to get in touch. So if you are not able to complete judging for any reason, we totally understand. We know things come up. We know that, things happen in our schedules. And so maybe you're not able to score projects anymore, or you're not able to score as many as you originally volunteered for. That's totally all right. We understand. Please just let us know as soon as possible. Likewise, if you can score more projects, and so I see that question was in the chat, let us know and we'll be able to move things around. because of course schedules sometimes change. So if you are able to score more projects, please just send us an email at globeivss@ucar.edu. If you think that if you're having a hard time finding a project, you think maybe the article ID isn't working, any other issues finding projects, please let us know. You can email us for that as well. Also, like I mentioned at the very beginning, we try to avoid assigning people with any conflict of interest to projects, but sometimes we might make mistakes. So if you notice that you've been assigned a project where you might have any sort of bias, maybe it's because you got a project assigned and you were a STEM mentor, or maybe if it's even as silly as, you hate a certain state's football team and you don't think you can avoid any bias when you're filling out that project, please let me know and we can change judges. And of course, any other questions or concerns, please let me know at globeivss@ucar.edu. All of the information resources you can find at our website. So you can either go to our shortened URL, globe.gov/science-symposium. That'll automatically take you to the year of the current IVSS. You could also find it by going to globe.gov, to our news and events, meetings and symposia, and then to our virtual science symposia. And of course, any other questions or information you might need, you can visit us at globeivss@ucar, or you can email me, at globeivss@ucar.edu. And I've been getting great questions throughout the presentation, but now I'm going to accept more questions. And then I've seen a couple of questions in the chat about when is judging due. So here's a quick timeline of our judging for this year. So today is March 30th. And so today or tomorrow, I will be sending you your judge sheet with all of the projects that you've been assigned. And you have 1 week to complete that judging. So typically I say judging takes, as long as it takes for me about, maybe 15 to 30 minutes per project, depending on how much feedback I'm giving, how big the project is, and different things like that. So keep that in mind when you're scoring. All that feedback that you'll be providing, we want you to finish scoring those projects by April 6th. That's 1 week, 1 week from today. All right, so I see a couple more questions in the chat now. I'd like to answer those. So can you include a copy of this presentation with the email to judges? Of course, absolutely. I will include this presentation in my email that I sent to all of you judges today, as well as our judge sheet. You can also find this. I'll be posting this to our website right after this presentation, or right after this webinar. Thank you for all your efforts. It's been a pleasant event always, and I'm inspiring to see projects from around the world. I fully agree. I think it's really a great opportunity to get to see what students are doing around the world and get to read their research. Do teachers and other participants get a certificate also? So students will receive virtual badges and certificates as well, but that's it. So just our judges and just our students. Students also this year, or every year, one of the benefits, not only is this a great opportunity for them to just practice some of those science skills and writing a report, but one of the other benefits to them is if they have earned top scores, so that's 4 stars, and earn at least 2 additional badges, they'll be entered into a drawing. And if they win that drawing, they'll be able to, they could be selected to attend our annual meeting this summer. So it's a really good opportunity for students. They could also earn some money to help them with their stipends to help offset some of these costs. So that's one of the incentives for our students, is a chance to earn some money and a chance to attend our annual meeting. Another question I see here, is there a direct link where we can see how many we volunteered to judge and change the numbers, or will we need to send an email? So please send me an email if you'd like to know how many you've been assigned, or if you'd like to change how many you've been assigned. I will be, of course, sending out that information for all of our judges later today and tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get them all out today. So you can see how many projects you're assigned there. Once again, please, if you are able or you're not able to assign or score as many as you've been assigned, or if you're able to score more, please let me know as soon as possible. Any other questions? All right. Well, please, I'll put my email address in the chat again. Please don't hesitate to reach out and with any other comments or concerns. You'll be getting an email from me later today with your judging information, as well as this presentation. And thank you so much. We really, really appreciate all of your hard work and your participation in this event. We know you're all very busy, and taking time to volunteer to do this is really a great thing, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much, and get in touch if you need any help. Thank you.